Hello, my name is Saul Mascarenas, Vice President of Business Development at Vista Solutions. I've spent the past 19 years as a solutions engineer working with IT professionals who are frustrated with having to spend time troubleshooting quote-unquote network issues. They're tired of consistently dealing with angry end users, and they are sick of the stress, long hours, and lack of appreciation that unfortunately goes along with the job. I found that a lot of these conditions are due to the fact that IT professionals are working in highly complex environments today. And when the quote network goes down or slows down, the cause literally could be a million things. So the search begins and the seasoned IT pros jump to their tools of choice to diagnose the problem. So the network is slow. This is usually what we hear from the IT professionals we work with. That's the opening bargaining position for many end users. Right? And it manifests itself in different ways. We got an end user clicking on something that they expect to happen with their application, and that application just sits there and spins while we wait for the response on the other end for some other resource that may be close or typically is outside the bounds of the immediate IT environment. Right? But we're going to go ahead and take a look at why it's so hard to figure out what the actual problem is behind performance problems. So let's take a look at the anatomy of a transaction. A lot of business professionals don't quite understand the inherent complexity of what is involved for even the simplest transactions. Even experienced IT professionals may not have thought about the chain that exists to deliver the services to an end user utilizing a company's critical business applications. Let's take a look. The transaction starts with the client browser at the top, where you see begin in the upper left of the slide. All right, the request is generated and goes out the actual client's system across what may be a wide area network. Right, and that goes in the form of a payload of a request payload of an IT packet, and goes into what may be a web tier for a web application, web-based application, right? And so as you can see, there are many processes, including the code and things that are written in the front end that are responsible for taking in that information and determining what's actually being requested by the client browser, right? And we'll then pass that request over what may be to a closer resource within the LAN once you hit the data center, right? And maybe hit some virtual infrastructure where the application server actually exists. So we have web services tier as well as an application services tier on the back end. But as you can see, there are many processes even at the application tier where the request has to traverse in order to come out the back end, where the application may not have access directly to what is being requested. Again, the application tier then must request on the back end, say, a database at the bottom to deliver the information that is being requested. So let's say that information comes back, right? We've traversed, as you can see, two different tiers of application servers. We've traversed network infrastructure. We've traversed, the NICs on the network interface cards on these servers. We've gone out, and all that takes some processing overhead to happen. So as we have to come back up through the stack, you look that we do it in reverse order. We disseminate what we've received from the database tier up through the application tier, put it in usable format that we can now deliver back over the LAN again, back to the web tier. And then we, of course, buffer that information and send it back out to the client to where the whole transaction is completed at the end in the upper right-hand corner. But as you can see on the right-hand side of this slide, there are many areas and many linkages, both with hardware and software, process and services that need to handle the information, disseminate it, make decisions on that information, shoot it back out to the end user, and we categorize all of that in what we will consider to be the end user experience. So when we're looking at key metrics, the end user experience is the time that it takes for the end user to click on whatever application they're using, whatever button, whatever service they're trying to get, and wait for something to happen, wait for meaningful information to come back so that they can do whatever it is that is critical to the business at the time they request it. And as you can see, there are many, many areas that can cause diminished transaction performance. A slow WAN link is just one of them. A slow LAN link is just one of them. But those are network infrastructure pieces, And we've been conditioned over the years to just attribute automatically slow networks to be the source of the problems I stated earlier. But the real problems that exist are thus: finger pointing. Every tier within that operation in the anatomy of a transaction has different ownership with different incentives and responsibilities relative to the app. Meaning that you may have a application owner on the whole that has a dotted line around the whole process, but you also have application owners, you have infrastructure owners, you have network engineers, you have software developers. All these people play together and have different ownership and different responsibilities to deliver the service of the app. The problem is that these areas are siloed. Each owner has a favorite tool that provides some insight into the symptom, but there is always limited correlation between the data silos. Each owner is very good at extracting the information they need relative to their responsibility, but tying those pieces together is difficult. So what is the result? We typically end up with lost productivity as a result of inherent troubleshooting and finger pointing. It's not my tool that's showing that we're having diminished performance problems or results from the performance issue that we're trying to troubleshoot, right? So let's look at the bottom line. Truly, why is this such an issue? The bottom line is that the end users are truly IT's end customers, right? So slow apps are directly tied to revenue. If the end users in the business cannot do what it is that the business is designed to do, then certainly it hits the company at the bottom line. So what do we do here? Right? We understand that it's a very challenging job. So we also know how frustrating it is to stay in this troubleshooting cycle of silos and finger pointing. And we have experience helping IT professionals like yourself discover the root cause of what is happening quickly and reduce MTTR, or mean time to resolution, to improve end user experience and address issues that affect the company's bottom line. Truthfully, we can help your team establish a new metric called MTTI, or mean time to innocence. You know, how quickly can one definitively prove that it probably isn't just the network slowing application performance for the end users? So if it makes sense to have a conversation to see if we might be able to help, please contact us below.